Dad's eyes pierced the shadows. My stepmom's naked truth trapped us in a web of sin. I fled the hotel room, Dad's voice a relentless specter in my shattered mind, the key a searing brand of shame etched into my palm. I'm Ryan Caldwell, 24, a man drowning in the seductive abyss woven by Sophia, my stepmom, in our Portland suburb. The memory of her naked body pressed against mine, her lover Daniel's taunting smirk, and the near discovery by Dad replayed in a relentless torrent, each image stoking the fire of guilt and desire that consumed my every waking moment. Dad's suspicion had morphed into a palpable threat, his questions cutting deeper with each passing day, his eyes probing my every move with a scrutiny that left me raw. The house, once a haven of memories, had become a crucible of tension, her spicy vanilla perfume taunting me from the curtains, her mirrors reflecting my guilt-ridden arousal, her soft moans a phantom that lingered in the stillness. Sleep eluded me, my nights a torment of restless tossing on sheets that carried her scent, my mind a battlefield where fantasies of Sophia's lace-clad form clashed with the fading echo of Mom. Her frail hands slipping from mine, the sterile hospital air, her final breath a whisper lost to the machine's hum. The guilt gnawed at my soul, a constant companion, yet Sophia's vitality, her brazen allure, drowned that sorrow, replacing it with a hunger that pulsed through my veins with every heartbeat. Her texts seared my phone, each message a siren's call. Your heat lingers, return to me. I ache for your touch, stirring my hardness with a relentless intensity. I avoided her for days, my body aching with unfulfilled need. But her presence was inescapable, her silhouette bending to water the plants, her hips swaying as she passed me in the hall, her laughter a sultry echo that haunted my dreams. Dad's concern had turned to suspicion, his late-night searches through the house a sign of his growing unease, his clenched fists a warning of the storm brewing beneath his calm exterior. "What are you hiding, Ryan?" he asked one evening, his voice rough with fatigue, his eyes narrowing as he studied me over a silent dinner. I lied, mumbling about work stress, my fork trembling in my hand, the weight of my deception pressing down. Sophia watched from across the table, her lips curling into a knowing smirk that sent a shiver down my spine. She wore a sheer lavender nightgown, the fabric clinging to her curves, the outline of her sensitive peaks faintly visible as she leaned forward to pass the bread, her foot brushing my calf under the table, a deliberate stroke that ignited a jolt of heat through my loins, my arousal stirring beneath my pants. The tension thickened, a palpable force in the air, as I wrestled with my conscience. The house itself seemed complicit, her lingerie strewn across the bathroom floor like a taunt, the soft rustle of silk as she moved through the halls, the way her perfume clung to my pillow, a constant tease that fueled my fantasies. I replayed the hotel scene, her robe falling to reveal her quivering thighs, her moans as she ground against Daniel, her hand guiding mine to her heat, each memory a dagger of lust and shame. Dad's questions grew more insistent, his footsteps echoing in the night as he paced, his shadow a constant reminder of the reckoning to come. Yet Sophia's smiles turned predatory, her touches bolder, her body a lure I couldn't escape, her whispers promising a descent into a forbidden ecstasy that threatened to consume us all. The tension snapped 2 days later when Dad cornered me in the living room, the key clutched in his hand, his face a mask of fury and confusion. "Where did this come from, Ryan?" he demanded, his voice a low growl that reverberated through the room, his eyes blazing with a mix of betrayal and suspicion. I stammered, my throat dry, my mind racing for an excuse. But Sophia intervened, her presence a sudden storm. She glided into the room, her delicate black outfit, tight and flowing, enhancing her silhouette, the fabric shifting to reveal the creamy expanse of her thighs as she moved. "It's nothing, Mark," she purred, pressing her curves against him, her scent a dizzying wave that momentarily distracted his rage. Her hand slid to his chest, her fingers tracing a soothing pattern, but he pushed her away, his eyes locking on mine with an intensity that made my heart pound. "Explain this," he growled, holding the key aloft, the metal glinting like a confession in the dim light. Sophia smirked, stepping between us, her hand sliding to my chest, fingers grazing the edge of my arousal with a deliberate tease that sent a jolt through my loins. "A game we play," she whispered, her voice a sultry challenge that hung in the air, her eyes flicking between us with a promise of ecstasy. Dad's face twisted, his anger warring with a flicker of desire as his gaze lingered on her curves, the tension between us thickening. She pulled us toward the bedroom, her outfit catching on a chair and tearing slightly, exposing the shadow of her intimate heat beneath the fabric. "Join us," she gasped, her heat enveloping the room, her body a bridge between fury and lust, her movements a dance of seduction that drew us closer despite ourselves. I hesitated, my hardness aching, but her hand guided mine to her waist, her skin hot and smooth, her breath quickening as she pressed herself against me. Dad lunged forward, his hands on her hips, his anger a mask for the hunger in his eyes, his breath ragged as he pulled her toward him. "What the hell is this?" he roared, but his grip softened, his fingers tracing her curves with a reluctant fascination. Sophia moaned softly, her body arching between us, her lips parting as she looked from him to me, her gaze a command wrapped in desire. The room spun with their shared tension, the mirror reflecting our struggle, her quivering form, my tense arousal, Dad's conflicted rage, a tableau of betrayal that pulsed with every heartbeat. The room erupted into chaos as Dad shoved her against the bed, his hands trembling with rage, but Sophia clung to me, her lips on my neck, her breath hot and needy against my skin. "He's mine too," she moaned, her hand stroking my hardened length with a possessive grip that made my knees weaken, her fingers tracing the outline with a slow deliberation. Dad lunged again, his hands on her hips, his anger a mask for the lust that flickered in his eyes, his breath ragged as he pulled her toward him. They grappled, her body between us, her gasps filling the air as her torn outfit fell away, revealing the shadow of her intimate contours. I pulled back, my resolve crumbling, but her eyes held me, a plea and a command wrapped in desire, her voice a whisper of temptation. "Stay with us," she gasped, her hand guiding mine to her thigh, her heat searing my palm, her skin slick with sweat. Dad's hands roamed her curves, his touch hesitant yet hungry, his breath hitching as he pressed against her. The mirror reflected our struggle, her exposed silhouette, my tense arousal, Dad's raging form, a visual symphony of lust and betrayal that pulsed with every movement. The tension broke as Sophia collapsed onto the bed, her body slick with perspiration, her moans a soft echo in the room. Dad stepped back, his chest heaving, his eyes locked on her, then on me, a storm of emotions swirling within him. "What have you done?" he whispered, his voice breaking, but his gaze lingered on her curves, a flicker of desire still burning. I stood frozen, my arousal throbbing, my mind racing with the weight of our sin, the air thick with the aftermath of our near transgression. Dad stormed toward the door, his footsteps a thunderous retreat, but Sophia grabbed my hand, her nakedness a lure that pulled me back with a desperate strength. "Don't leave me," she begged, her fingers tracing my chest, her heat pressing against me, her sensitive peak grazing my skin with a tantalizing touch. The door slammed shut. Dad's return? She pushed me to the floor, her body covering mine, her whisper a promise of forbidden ecstasy that sent shivers down my spine. "We'll finish this," she breathed, her lips hovering over mine, her tongue teasing the air with a silent plea, her breath mingling with mine in a dance of lust. I groaned, my arousal throbbing against her touch, my body betraying me with every pulse, but the footsteps grew louder. Dad's shadow filled the frame, his silhouette a dark omen in the doorway. She shielded me, her naked form a barrier that trembled with anticipation, her voice steady despite the flush on her cheeks. "Just a moment, Mark," she lied, her hips swaying as she moved toward him, her curves a distraction that held his gaze. I hid, my breath shallow, my body pressed against the cold floor, the key still burning in my pocket, her naked promise lingering like a tangible force that pulled at my soul. The silence stretched, a taut wire ready to snap, as Dad's eyes narrowed, his voice a low growl laced with suspicion. "What's this mess?" he demanded, his tone cutting through the stillness, his gaze shifting past her to the shadows where I lay. Sophia stepped closer, her hands raised in a placating gesture, her nakedness a lure to divert his attention, her body trembling with the aftermath of our near encounter. "Just a spill, darling," she cooed, her voice a delicate weave of deception, her fingers brushing his arm with a soothing touch. I held my breath, my arousal still pulsing, my mind racing with the possibility of discovery. The tension mounted, a storm brewing in the air, as Dad hesitated, his eyes lingering on the rumpled bed, the scattered remnants of her outfit, the faint shimmer of her perfume that hung like a confession. My body ached with unfulfilled need, the memory of her touch searing my skin, her whisper, "We'll finish this," echoing in my ears. The door creaked again, a sound that reverberated with impending doom, and I caught a glimpse of Dad's hand on the light switch, his knuckles white with tension. Sophia moved with a fluid grace, her naked form a shield that trembled with desire, her voice softening as she pressed against him. "Let's talk downstairs," she suggested, her hand sliding down his chest, her eyes flicking back to me with a promise of continuation. But Dad's gaze hardened, his hand pausing on the switch, the light flickering as he turned it on, casting a harsh glow that threatened to expose me. My heart thudded, the key's edge digging into my palm, a reminder of the choice I faced: flee and preserve what was left of my honor, or stay and surrender to the abyss of her desire. The room held its breath, the moment of truth hanging in the balance, as Dad's shadow loomed larger, his voice a whisper of impending judgment. "Show me," he said, and I knew the reckoning was at hand.